everybody. Welcome to Unmuzzled. I'm the host, Sarah Lauk. Thank you so much for joining me. First up, presenting sponsors.
Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. With over 12,000 square feet of indoor space and a huge yard, they are the one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. Bark Pouch makes 5 mess-free lickable treat recipes in 2 sizes for a delightful time with your dog or dogs. Their grab-and-go pouches make warm weather fun and easy breezy. Whether you're traveling, enjoying a long walk, patio season, or family and friend gatherings, Bark Pouch's irresistible, all-human-grade treats let you focus on what matters most: time with your dog or dogs and loved ones. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, just a block south of CDH Hospital and the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner for a healthy, happy pet.
Thank you so much, presenting sponsors. I really appreciate it. Guys, guess who's here? Yes. So she was on season 1 of what was then called Raise the Roof. I've been begging her to come back on because if you know me, you know my love for senior animals. And so it's exactly the same. In fact, she was doing it far before it was cool. So I was typing up like the description for the podcast, and I do think, and Zoe, tell me if you agree with this. So, sorry, Zoe is from Newman Nation, Senior Pets United. So welcome, Zoe. But, it used to be difficult to get senior animals out of shelters. And, a lot of that was because people didn't want to foster senior animals because of how quickly you lose them. A lot of times they have medical problems and people can't afford that. Yep. So along came you in 2017, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So why, and I want to talk about Newman, of course, but why did you decide to do this?
I have always loved animals. I always volunteered at local shelters. I volunteered at Young and Heart, who I think really started the senior pet rescue game. But when I was in college, I studied animal science. I had a ton of different experience at shelters. I was seeing all of these very vulnerable senior animals there who obviously weren't moving. They weren't getting adopted. And my family adopted Newman. He was 13 years old in 2014. And it was just the greatest experience ever. He had so many problems, but we loved him to death. He had such a huge personality, and it just really got me started in senior pets. And you know how special they are. They might not be able to walk. They might not be able to eat by themselves, but they have a huge personality and they'll capture your heart, and you just have to love them. And they're always in shelters for a number of different reasons. There's never a shortage of senior pets to save. So that's why I started Newman Nation.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Young at Heart kind of made it cool. They kind of made it so that, okay, these animals deserve more than what they get at the end. And, a lot of times, unfortunately, it ends up being an owner surrender because somebody can't afford it or they can't, take care of the pet. That's also a thing. If it's an older person and the animal is older and they have medical issues, not only can they not afford it, but they can't physically take care of it. So that's a real thing too. It's especially with society today, a lot of people unfortunately see their animals as disposable. And I know you also, besides the animal control requests, you also get a lot of owner surrenders.
I try to not deal as much with the owner surrenders. Obviously, it's a very emotional when the family is involved and things like that. I always encourage them to reach out to their local shelters first. But one of the biggest reasons we're seeing why senior animals are ending up homeless is because an owner will pass away and then the family won't take any responsibility for it, and they'll bring it to a shelter or they'll reach out. And I can't stress enough that you should always have a plan for your pet, or make sure that someone in your family or your friend or your neighbor or your coworker will take your animal if something ever happens to you. But that's something that we're seeing more and more, which just baffles me. If something happened to me and my pets ended up at a shelter, you bet I would be haunting you forever.
Which it's interesting because it's kind of like a morbid thing to think about and talk about. But I did do a podcast with somebody that she wrote a book basically that's like a workbook for your pet, so that if something does happen to you, um, there's a guidebook basically, which I think is brilliant. And for people, like me that don't have kids, like my animals are my life, like it's really important. I was just reading up too on having a living trust. So, a living trust is something that you can update consistently. It's not necessarily a will, but it's a living document that no matter what your age, you can have it. It's online now. It used to be just you had to go to a lawyer or go to a service to do it, but now everything's online, so it makes it a lot easier to update. But in that, I was reading, like, you can talk about things like your animals and like who you want them to go to or where they should go. I like to think that people would be like fighting over my pets. I'm sure.
Yeah, like knocking down the door to claim them.
Right. But it is really, really like an important thing to think about. And I do think, for pet owners who do have to go to a shelter, an animal control, or a rescue, some of them really do care what happens to the pet. Yeah. So, sometimes they try to take a shortcut by going directly to you, but unfortunately you can't take every owner surrender. So it really is, and right now we're in a crisis. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that too, because I'm sure that you are just getting pinged and tagged and messaged all the time about intakes at the local shelters.
Yeah, I had to kind of the past year just take a step back a little bit, which killed me inside because, it's worse than ever out in the shelter world. But for my own sanity and my mental health, it was just becoming so overwhelming. And there were never enough fosters, never enough donations, never enough resources to help all of the animals that you could. And, like I said, for my own sanity, I just had to take a step back and really reduce the number of intakes that we could take on, which, like I said, was really hard for me to do because I want to save everybody possible, but it was the best thing for me. And now I can really focus on utilizing our limited resources to help the ones who really, really need it, and then try and promote the others that might be a little more adoptable or that other rescues could take on. But it's tough.
Yeah, so now that we got there, I probably should have, but your mission is kind of taking, more of the medical cases, more of like the ones that aren't as low-hanging fruit. Do you take some low-hanging fruit? Yes, of course, you deserve some low-hanging fruit. But a lot of your animals are a hot mess. So, and this is one that I was like, oh, I really want to meet. This dog is my jam, but
I know, I wanted you to adopt him because I didn't want to end up keeping him, but he stayed.
Yeah, he's with you. So tell us about him.
Yeah, Dobby has an interesting story, and I really wish I knew his history. He... I think October, almost 2 years ago, some person, I don't know if it was an owner, I don't know if they found him, but they posted on some local Facebook page and was like, if nobody takes this dog within the next day, I'm going to take him to the shelter. Just kind of like giving just the general public an ultimatum. And like I said, I don't know who this person was. I don't know why they didn't just take him to a shelter. But luckily for him, this really nice young couple stepped up and they were like, oh my God, we have to save this dog. So they took him in for a few months and they were great. They got him the care that he needed, but they had a new baby on the way and it just wasn't the right environment for him. So we stepped in. He had a lot of medical issues. He has a lot of chronic skin infections. He obviously had an eye that just randomly ruptured recently that had to be taken out, but he was just one of those seniors that needed a very senior-friendly home, a child-free home, and just kind of that ongoing care. And he's got a personality that I would say makes him unadoptable.
Yeah, you basically said, I'm going to just deal with this because I don't want to deal with all of the phone calls and the aftermath.
Yeah, you have to really appreciate the Chihuahua attitude on him. But, he's one of those where it's like, what did he do to be discarded like that? And in that way, you never know. Like I said, I would, based on his personality, like I would love to know what happened to him. I can't imagine that it was ever that good.
Yeah. And now Lady, this is the dog that I'm obsessed with currently. So he has. So tell us her story because, oh my God, she's just adorable.
I love Lady. I'm so glad that she's still here with us. She was found as a stray in the Rockford area about 3 weeks ago. And we were able to rescue her 2 weeks ago yesterday. The shelter let her leave early on stray hold because she was in such poor condition. Now, let me just say that she was a stray, but she did not run away from home. She came to us dragging her body behind her. She could not walk. She was so weak. She was so thin. Obviously has something going on with her mouth, has something going on with her eyes. She's in congestive heart failure. And then on top of all of that, she got kennel cough from the shelter, which was very touch and go. But luckily we have a wonderful vet partner, and I took her in 3 times last week for some supportive care, had her in quarantine with a humidifier, just trying to get over it. And she's over the worst of it. She's gained 0.5 pound in the past few days. And, you know, she's the definition of the Newman Nation dog that needs that specialized care in a home. She just woke up. Let me show her.
We must see her because I'm obsessed.
So this is Lady, the little puppet.
Oh, so if you're listening to the podcast on one of the podcast stations, you have to go to the video and see Lady, or go follow Newman Nation, because she is just a gem. I mean, I feel like she is so broken, but she's with you now, so she's
like I said, she was like so sick. She was like half dead, you know, the first 10 days, and then she got better. She started eating, and she's sassy. She's got a personality coming out, and obviously she has a lot of things still working against her. You know, she's not going to be around forever, but she's here. She's going to enjoy whatever time she has left. And this, like I said, this is a Newman Nation dog right here.
literally like the epitome. So for you, let's talk a little bit about this, just because we're here. I mean, I think as I age, it gets harder for me to keep losing these old chihuahuas that we bring in. You're still young, so but it is really a thing to, you know, bring in animals that might have months, you know, maybe a few years. How do you kind of deal with that compassion fatigue of, you know, and it's not just one dog, like it's not just like two dogs that I have, like it's a whole slew of dogs, but how do you kind of get through that emotional aspect?
Yeah, I think it's super tough. And I think until you do it, you don't realize that you have the strength to do it, which I think is why a lot of people don't take on senior animals. But what I've always said is that, you know, you have to go into it. You're not going to be thinking that you're going to have years and years with them. Like, you just have to focus on every single day as it comes. Enjoy every single day to the fullest. Every time they eat a meal, like Piglet, right here, she has been with me for over 5 years. I didn't think she was going to last 6 months. And every single day she wakes up and eats, it's like a celebration that she's just here another day. So I think just really going into it with a positive spin, being grateful for every day that you do get with them. And I don't know, I just always try and look at it really positively. And they're going to impact your life in the best way, regardless of how much time you have them.
Yeah, man, that is so true, because I remember, you know, Mac, like every day he eats and poops and sleeps, I'm happy. Like if he keeps doing that, like
best thing ever.
I mean, I was celebrating that he gained 2 ounces. I mean, that's insane. But when the dogs are that old and you're trying to keep weight on them, like Dr. Bean said, you know, he just can't keep losing a lot of weight because he's only, you know, 2.6 pounds or whatever. So it is so true to just take those little celebratory moments, and it could be something as small as like eating or poop.
Yeah.
And go from there. And I think for people that are nervous, like it sucks. It sucks when they pass away, and it's hard. And you're like, okay, I need a break. And then, you know, you'll post a dog, or Susan from Waukegan will send me a dog, or Dawn will be like, you know, from Young at Heart, hey, Sarah, this one, you know, needs a sanctuary home. Like, it's not that you like feel pressed, but especially now, like you feel like, okay, like this dog needs me, and so does, you know, the rescue or the shelter. So
it's about them. It's not about you.
Right. And that feeling of saving an older dog, like there's nothing better. There's nothing better in the world. And you know it because you're doing it, you know, every day. It's just, it's seriously so rewarding. And I'm not, I don't want to understate how hard it is, especially because you do it, you integrate the dog into your house, and it's not always easy. It can be really, really hard. So thank you for all you do. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I'll keep doing it as long as I'm able to do it.
Yeah, so that's what I want to talk about too, because like you obviously are foster based. So if anybody wants to foster an old dog, I highly recommend Newman Nation. That just means that they can pull another one from somewhere. But you also obviously need donations and supplies. So what is the best way for people to help? Is it donating?
Yeah, I think donations, like you said, I mean, we're 100% foster based. We don't have any facility expenses. We, don't have any like administrative expenses or anything like that. Like we really just spend all of our donations on medical care because the animals we take need a lot of it, and a lot of ongoing care because a lot of the ones we take in, we keep for life. We don't adopt them out. So whether they're with us for a couple weeks or we've had animals with us as forever fosters for many years, we're going to continue to cover those medical bills for them. So just any donation helps. We also have a wish list on Chewy, which just has some, like the diapers and the pee pads and the canned food and things like that. But just regular donations, or even just sharing our page, sharing our mission, getting the word out there that Newman Nation exists and is doing this, and get people pumped up about saving senior pets, I think is really important.
So important, and really an important point too about sharing, because of how the algorithms are now. Like sharing a post or commenting on a post so that somebody that sees that, is really, it helps. So if you can't donate and you can share Lady or whoever, that also is amazing. And medical care, pet care for dogs, especially seniors, is so expensive. So even though rescues get discounts and a lot of help, but it's never enough. So the money,
and for us, it's beyond just the initial vaccinations or the blood work. It's the blood work. It's, hey, the senior dog stopped walking this morning. We got to do x-rays. We got to do ultrasounds. We got to take an eye out of this dog because it randomly ruptured. Like, you never know what's going to happen when you're old and hanging by a thread. So
Right. I mean, so true. Well, so I thank you for all you do. I don't know. Do you want to give us any other sneak peeks of any of the other dogs if they're awake back there?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, they're all deaf, so I can't wake them up, but I can take you on a little
just take us on a little tour.
All right. Let's see.
A senior dog tour, everybody.
So this is Dobby, little One Eye, Mr. Sassy Pants. Let me see if he'll let me pet him. I'm like scared to pet him. Hi, always being nice today. Okay. You never know. All right. So that's Dobby. This is Piglet. Like I said, Piglet we rescued over 5 years ago. She's one of our longest Newman Nation saves. I obviously adopted her, but she was skin and bones, starving, 2.5 pounds when we got her. Some woman put her in a plastic dog crate and just threw it into the middle of the road. And luckily a neighbor saw her do it and rescued poor Piglet, but she is thriving. 5+ years ago, they said she was at least 13 years old. So you never know how long you're going to get with these guys.
Oh, I love that.
And then Stewie.
Oh,
this is Stewie. He came to us in March from Heartland Animal Shelter because obviously he was not cut out for shelter life, and he is going to be 18 in September. So we are really hoping he makes it there.
What? Who's under there? Oh,
and here's Rue. We rescued him almost 3 years ago. He was a bonded pair with his biological mom who was in kidney failure. We only had her for 5 months, but he is like the nurse of the household. Anytime a new animal comes in, he's right there by their side.
Oh, of course I love him.
I know, he's a Sarah dog for sure.
Is that like the dog couch? Like, do you ever really sit there, honestly?
I have a little space carved out, but this is what they do all day. This is the life.
I mean, that is like my dream come true. It's like Young at Heart has this like littles room, and when I go, I go there sometimes to take Harmon to the vet and such. Like I just Ship and I will just go and sit in there. It's like heaven on earth. It really
My
is.
house is the littles room. I always tell people, I'm like, if you need some emotional support, come on over. Don't touch Dobby, but everyone else will give you some major love.
So, what I love is that Dobby is the first one that I would want to touch, of course.
I know. I always tell people, I'm like, Dobby is like a museum artifact. Like you can look, but you can't get close. You cannot touch it.
Yeah. Oh, so sweet. Zoe, thank you. Everybody, please go on their website and donate or go onto their wish list, get some items if you want to volunteer. Obviously, that's always awesome as well. But you're doing amazing things. I know you're a hero to so many, including me. I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you. I always appreciate your support, and we love Live Like Rue.
Thank you. You're the best. Have a good night.
You too.
Everybody, seriously, go check them out. If you're not following them, you have to follow them. I mean, I'm like obsessed with their page. Every week there's a new dog that it's just simply amazing. Supporting sponsors, you're up.
Thank you so much to our supporting sponsors. Give the gift of joy and memorable moments of furry loved ones with a gift card from Kimberly Kingen Photography. For more details, please visit her website at kimberlykingen.com or contact her directly at her email, kimberly@kimberlykingen.com. The Canine PT is Chicago's highest rated dog physical therapy clinic, and they're dedicated to enhancing the lives of your four-legged companions as they age or when recovering from an injury. They also offer a discount for rescue dogs. For more information, visit thecaninepT.com. That's THEK9PT.com. Anything is Plausible is Chicago's premier dog training company. They offer group classes for every stage of your dog's life and have a talented team of behavior specialists to work through any issues that need modification using positive reinforcement. Check out Anything is Plausible. Liz Starks at Guaranteed Rate. Check with Liz for the absolute best mortgage options. She helps when others can't and even calls it rescue loans. Buyers, sellers, investors, give Liz a call. She can lend in all 50 states. NMLS number 224526.
Thank you, supporting sponsors. I really appreciate all the sponsors. I took a week or two off just around the holidays. It was a little bit crazy, so I appreciate your patience. We're back on track now. I'm so excited for some upcoming guests I have. I actually cannot wait for some of them. Thank you so much to Zoe from Newman Nation. Go follow them. Honestly, some of the best little broken dogs that could use some shares and some love. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.